Well, this is why you can't hear me. There we go. All right. Looks like we've got maybe volume now. Let's see. Y'all tell me if you guys can hear me now. I'll let you know when I can hear you. Can you hear me now? I turned on my thing. So I think you should be able to hear me, guys. I had the wrong setting on. And so let's see. Can you guys tell me if you guys can hear me? Right. Hola, Lina. Here we go. Here we go. Let me see if I can get some of my guests on. Hang on a second here.
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Wonderful, Andrea. All right, listen, you know what? It was on my end, Andrea. Bless your heart. Okay, I hadn't turned on my microphone.
It's usually my end. So I called Travis and I was like, what am I doing wrong?
No, I know. Listen, I know I saw him pop in. Thanks so much. My getter family was like, we can't hear you. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, okay, then it's on my end. It's not on Andrea's end. Andrea, we're going to have another guest here, and I'm going to bring her on the line here to kind of just join us. But I want to ask you some questions about what's been going on in Nevada with all that. But let me welcome in. We've got Sheena Rodriguez on live tonight with us. And Sheena, we got Andrea here from Nevada. I always say it in different ways. They always get mad at me. So I wanted to ask her a couple of things. Andrea was very involved with the Joey Glibert campaign. Sheena has Secure the Border. She's also part of our Latinos for America First. And we're going to be talking about some border issues and stuff. Sheena is a warrior. She is out there. She's been testifying in legislator and committees. I mean, she's just hot. She's on fire. She is passionate about what's going on with this country and in this country. But first and foremost, welcome to both of you. Stand Up, Stand Out America here with Bianca Gracia, La Conservadora Tejana. We thank you for joining us on this Friday night. Andrea, first, give us an update about what's happening. I saw something. There's some chatter going on about Joey Glibert, and I don't know if it's a contesting or a recount. Can you fill us in on what happened in that race in Nevada with his governorship? And obviously there's some stuff in the state going on. Can you just let us know?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. We actually just did our recount and it wrapped up this evening. Clark County and Washoe County just finished it. It was a statewide recount, all 17 counties. We went for a hand count. We had observers in all 17 counties that are all getting some interesting information back to us. So it was a wild last almost 48 hours.
Wow.
So yes, there was a recount. It was about close to $200,000 that we had to pay for a statewide recount of just one candidate. The Franklin Project is a PAC here in Nevada that backed it and paid for it. And Mr. Robert Beatles is behind that. And he's a pretty prominent figure across the nation when it comes to election fraud. He's an expert, and he claims, and we support him 110%, that there are some shenanigans, if you want to be nice about it, going on with our elections here, from the mail-in ballots to, probably 2,000 other issues that we can pinpoint. But basically, Nevada has ranked the bottom in almost every category. That's why we ran. That's why we're trying to save this state. But we've been on the bottom of election integrity issues as well. And there's some horrible things going on that we've witnessed. And so we just did the recount, and there's going to be some lawsuits coming out next week. And some more big bombs will be flying here real soon about it.
Wow. Sheena, don't we wish we could have done that in our state of Texas? Because we know there's shenanigans that happened here in the state of Texas, but we have 254 counties. So can you imagine the dollar amount to have a recount or any kind of any of that going on in the state of Texas? It almost discourages people because that would be a lot of money. So, hey, we thank you guys for, staying on the forefront of this. Many people just don't realize that, we have to even be careful. We can't even say the word election with anything else, because if you say the whole phrase, you get shut down from from social media, and they'll take down your podcast and they'll say you're spreading misinformation. But here's the thing, this is why I'm asking you what's going on right now, right this minute. We're not asking about the past, we're asking about what happened right now, what's going on in the state. And so I think that, people do, there is this, like, it's like some Americans want to put it, they just want to move forward, right? And some Americans are like, we can't even move forward if we haven't fixed anything that happened in the past. So we're, kind of, I am in the boat of, we can't afford to move forward. I mean, we are moving forward, but we can't afford to, because we have to fix what happened in the past if you want to fix what in the future, so
Yeah.
so we just, hands down, we thank you so much for everything you guys are doing. Please let Latinos for America First know how we can help and spread your message, and definitely, get out there and stuff. So remind me, you guys are also a border state, aren't you?
Nevada, I mean, no, but we have a lot of friends in Arizona that we work with, and we are, again, we rank bottom and worst in almost every category. And we do have huge crisis here with the immigration issues. I mean, it's absolutely happening here in huge numbers. And again, with the election, I've been conservative my whole life, been involved with the GOP party, obviously, and trying to fix the wrongs. But there's no fixing anything at the end of the day. I was Joey Gilbert's campaign manager, and I've been I want to continue to support strong candidates, America First candidates, but there's no fixing anything if our elections are broken. The good guys cannot win, and the good guys cannot get anything done. If we don't fix the elections. The election integrity issue has got to be number one fight right now for all of us that are trying to save our states and save America.
Well, I would tell you that we do have some good news coming out of Texas, and Sheena is much more polished on the legislative priorities. But state of Texas out-of-state convention right now, our legislative priority, the number one legislative priority that came out of our platform is election integrity. And I would say that, Sheena, I'm sure you can, chime in here with those legislative priorities. How would you say, I mean, we got what everybody was talking about, the state convention of Texas, and how harsh we were with our legislative priorities. Let Andrea know what exactly they were criticizing us for here in the state of Texas.
A lot of the criticisms, honestly, that the media focused on was the harsh language towards the sexual grooming, if you will, of our children. It was specifically geared towards this, communistic push of the LGBTQ plus, because we all know that really has nothing to do with gay rights. It really is just another Marxist communist agenda. And so that was actually what they chose to focus on, was actually what they considered harsh verbiage towards that, instead of focusing on the election integrity, measures that we pushed and got through, instead of focusing on the border initiatives that we were able to, to push through, because they don't want the people knowing about that, because that's something they don't want the mass number of people knowing about. So, but yes, we were able to, election integrity was number one. And I think, if I can just comment really quickly on that, I think in this race of what they're dealing with over there in Nevada, this is a perfect example of kind of what we're talking about. Yes, people want to be able to move on, but you can't fully move on unless you address these issues. And this is exactly why, because if we don't understand what truly happened and we don't start to fix those things, this is going to continue to repeat itself over and over and over again. And this is another perfect example of why we can't exactly just move on with the election integrity if the issues are going to just continue to happen. So.
And Andrea, out of your 17 counties, I think didn't Joey win all of them except 2?
Yes. So, I mean, we swept the rural counties, which, I mean, we knew we would, but there's going to be evidence. Again, it's smoking gun, absolute proof that we won by many votes, a lot. I mean, it's the Trump Biden thing all over again. It's just the small Nevada scale. I mean, Joey Glibert came in like Trump Bianca, thank you for coming out to some events for us. I mean, she saw the passion out here. We had huge events. We had huge rallies. The person that they say we lost to, Joe Lombardo, I mean, he's just not liked in this state at all. I mean, it's so clear to everyone. Over 80% of Nevadans don't have any trust or faith in the electoral process. And while we were on the road, for that year, we went to every single county. Sometimes we did 7 events in a day. Our team was extremely passionate, and Nevadans everywhere kept saying, I want you to win, but how? I don't feel like my vote counts. So yeah, we swept the rural counties, and they say that we lost Clark. We have strong evidence, and we have attorneys that we work with all over. Jovan, out of Arizona too. I mean, we have amazing people on our team.
Yes,
and we won Clark, and then they've tried to say that we lost Washoe. Washoe's our hometown, our home county up here. Joey Glibert. There's no way that we lost. And again, the evidence and the information that you guys are going to see coming out this next week will prove it.
Awesome, Andrea. It's going to be so important that you keep us, posted on developments. We want to know all about it so we can make sure that we obviously share it to our audience as well, so that they are in tune. You're exactly right. I was out there several times. I followed the Joey Glibert campaign for a little bit over a year since he started. And I saw the passion all over, everywhere y'all went. You had packed houses. The opponent did not have packed houses.
He hid. He was hiding in his basement like Joe Biden.
Yeah.
So
that's what I saw. So how in the world? I'm like, no, Joey had this overwhelmingly getting the support of the actual Nevada GOP at the state convention himself, getting the endorsement. Mm-hmm. How do you get out of that? And then the other guy, it's impossible.
And we won every straw poll. They try to say that straw polls don't matter. I mean, every single straw poll, we won by 80-90% of the room, even in Clark County. So again, it's just, it's obvious to the majority of Nevadans. Like I said, over 80% are behind us. And in about, I think I only had 15 minutes to be notified of when the recount was going to start in Clark County yesterday morning. They, we paid $200,000 for a recount, and then they didn't tell me when they were going to start it, so I can get observation.
Of course.
My observers. And so we have the best volunteers in the world. We have thousands, probably 4,000 volunteers that just hit the ground running. They went to every facility and they observed yesterday, and the reports that we have coming from our observation teams are incredible. So we're really hoping that Nevada can make a huge change that's hopefully a nationwide impact, because what we're about to do with our lawsuits has not been done. We're in uncharted territory, but we're very confident that we're going to win.
This is great. I'm so happy. I did, and this was the important thing is, I remember sitting with Travis and Spencer and outlining some things and said, a strategy, right? And even Joey, I went over this and I said, look, what I've learned from past things running for office myself, this is what you got to look for, and this is what you got to be ready for. You've got to beat them here. And if you can do these things, X, Y, and Z, then you're going to stay on top of the game. And what Travis came back and told me was, everything you said, Bianca, literally came out exactly the way you said. And I said, that's why you had to put certain measures in place so that you were going to be able to do exactly what you're doing now. So I'm very proud of you guys. Andrea, I know that, you came on to just kind of brief us. And so I really thank you so much for coming on Friday night. And you're more than welcome to join us on our podcast anytime you would like to join us.
Thank you.
So, Andrea,
thank you for your support, Bianca.
You are so welcome. We are with you. We are definitely with you. You let us know how we can help, and we'll continue to share the message on our end.
Thank you so much. God bless you guys, and let's stay in the fight.
Absolutely, Andrea. Just let people know where to go find you. Where do they find and keep up to date with the Joey Glibert updates?
So you can still go to gilbertforgovernor.com. Anything we get as far as contributions there are going to the fight, obviously. And we also have the Franklin Project, where people can contribute to the Franklin Project, which is the PAC that's helping fund these lawsuits with Robert Beatles. So Glibert for Governor and Franklin Project. And you can reach out to me anytime, Andrea at gilbertforgovernor.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Have a blessed Friday and happy 4th of July.
Yes, happy 4th of July. God bless you guys. Thank you.
All right, great. Sheena, how about that, man?
It's awesome.
They're fighting the fight. $200,000 to do that recount, man.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of money, but I hope I have faith that it's going to be well worth it. They can't give us the details of what they found, but they believe they have a very strong case, obviously. So I'm going to be really excited to see, how that turns out. And it's about time that we start seeing some kind of shift and change with these elections, and when shenanigans happen, they need to be brought to the forefront and they need to be addressed right there and then, not 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. So awesome. Well, Sheena, I thank you for coming on tonight. I know you've got your own podcast and you had a great podcast this past Wednesday. I know some of my audience doesn't always follow or watch, but I do share it. But you had a very good and explosive story on Wednesday, and I wanted you to come talk about it on our end here at Stand Up, Stand Out America, with just developments that are coming from the border, the end of Title 42, all of the stuff that you are very much in tune with. I know you were out at Austin testifying as well to the committee on a certain issue, and so I want you to brief everybody here. Did you see Lieutenant Colonel Raul Reyes? I'm doing a podcast on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Cállate, hombre. You're not on Stand Up, Stand Out America right now, Lieutenant LTC Raul Reyes. He's just so funny. He's advertising. And listen, oh my goodness, Raul. All right, go ahead. I just want to give him, he goes, I'm here. I should tell him you should join us. Go ahead, Sheena, give us a briefing.
Yeah, so a lot has happened. And usually I do the Secure the Border podcast on Fridays, but it's just been so overwhelming the last few days. And honestly, since we did it on Wednesday, I mean, I can't top that. And basically what that was that Brent Smith, which is the Kinney County attorney that you guys know, we've spent a lot of time over there in that area. The breaking news there was that, this is just one area, again, that has just been slammed. And Sheriff Coe, the great Sheriff Coe there of Kinney County, finally had to take, the extra step in making sure that his citizens were protected when Border Patrol at the time wasn't able to assist, essentially. Sheriff Coe said, well, I can't afford to have 2 of my deputies out there and leave my community vulnerable. Brent went on to explain on how they had 3 bailouts, one which was actually a shooting situation just that morning prior to. And this is a small county with really strapped resources, and 2 deputies off of their force of all of 6 really does compromise that large county, there, because it is a very large area wise, and they've just been so slammed and impacted. So they took matters. They were like, well, we can't do this. So they essentially sent 4 of the illegal aliens back over to Mexico, which is huge. It's huge. I don't think that people, that don't really understand how big that is. The fact that it's gotten to this point, and the great Sheriff Coe and Brent Smith, that Kinney County has been at the forefront of literally trying to do all that they can legally and constitutionally, to protect their citizens that they serve. They are elected officials, and they are true servants, like everyone should be.
Right.
And they were like, we can't do this. We can't do it. We can't leave our population vulnerable. So they put their citizens first and took that action. And it really is a big action that is really unprecedented. It really, truly is.
Well, and Sheena, think about it. It's not like Sheriff Coe just said, oh, I'm just woke up one day and I'm just going to do something different. Sheriff Coe has been pretty much I'm not going to even say beg, but maybe kind of beg. He's been asking our elected officials. He's asked the governor for on multiple occasions for help. They remember at the beginning, they did the 32 counties that signed on to say, declare this as an invasion, to give us power as a state to do what we need to do. And it was ignored for a year. And instead, Abbott wasted over billions of dollars on $18 billion or whatever it was, some ridiculous amount of money on Operation Lone Star that obviously didn't work. It's worse with the amount of fentanyl that's come in, the amount of bailouts that they're dealing with. So it's not like Sheriff Code just decided to wake up and be meanie one day. Their community, and I've been down there, you've been down there several times, probably more than I have, but I've been down there. It's very desolate. It's like what I call the wild, wild west. It's very dry land. It's very deserty look. It is West Texas, right? And so it's hot. You may not see a house for, I don't know, miles, 100 miles maybe at some point in time. So it's not like the community is right there next to each other. So, this is very unprecedented. I'm surprised it hasn't hit the mainstream media, and that they're sitting there telling him, coming after him or whatsoever because of what he's done. But I know that by this time, he's exhausted all of his resources, everything that he could possibly do. And at the end of the day, he has taken an oath to protect and serve his community first, right? It's his county. He was elected to represent his county and to make sure that he is following the law and enforcing the law. And as well as once beyond his community is to the state of Texas. So we have always been, our organization and your organization, we have always been very, very supportive of Kinney County. We love, there's some ranchers out there. We know them, Kelly and Rhonda, and there's many others that we know that have really been telling us and briefing us from the very beginning stuff that what they're and having to endure and encounter and go through in their small community, that they really moved out there because that's like, leave me alone. I don't want anybody to reach me, find me. We don't have cable. We don't have telephone for real. They're out in the boonies. They don't want to be, they retired. They don't want to be messed with. And to have to dealt with this for over a year now, it's pretty much, you pretty much put them up against the corner and they have nowhere else to go. So take it away, Sheena.
Yeah. And it's going on 2 years now since the Biden regime took office. And that's the thing, is that, they really have exhausted everything. And it is a very large area with very limited resources. And so, when this area has just been ravaged, it's nonstop. So no, exactly that. It's not like they just woke up and just decided that. No, it's taken this long, and this community has put up with this much, and it's not necessarily the norm that they're going for, but it was just like, our hands are strapped, and we literally cannot afford this for our citizens. And we go into great detail in there about, during the podcast that we had with Brent, he went into great detail about what they face. You're looking at over 3.2 million that Brent had cited that has come over since January alone. and this, with over 800,000 gotaways, that's just since January. That doesn't include last year. That's just what's known about. And, this is also, Brackettville, which is a seed for Kinney County. They also have the Border Patrol station there, that we've served, right? That LFT has served. And so this is a very just salt of the earth community that is just ravaged, and they finally had enough, and they were like, we can't do this. We can't have two of our deputies out there taken off the field for hours on end, leaving our large community with a very small population, a lot of rural, like you said, a lot of rural area to cover, and you're having these bailouts nonstop. You're having houses being broken into. Brent went into talking about a recent case where a mother and a daughter, were inside of their house when 3 illegal aliens were trying to break break in. They knew that they were in there, and thank God she had her AR-15 ready, to protect her and her daughter, and the sheriff was able to get there in time. But like this is a daily thing. It's nonstop. And so, for him to make this step, it really was a big, bold step. And honestly, I hope that other sheriffs will start to follow suit, and that the state of Texas will begin to follow suit. And of course, we've all been putting pressure on Governor Abbott to declare this as an act of invasion, because that's exactly what it is. The rest of America, and even a large part of Texas, still really doesn't understand how bad this really truly is. And it is an act of invasion. I wish there was a better word to even describe it at this point, but it's just not. And it's going to get substantially worse now with the court ruling effectively siding with the Biden regime, saying that, remain in Mexico no longer has to be in effect, which honestly, we know this. Remain in Mexico has effectively already been lifted, especially over there in the Del Rio sector and in many other sector areas. Title 42 and Remain in Mexico hasn't really been implemented for a long time now. Right. But the problem why this is just such a big issue is because now it's announced to the world. So this is another mass announcement to the rest of the world. Yep, now's the time to come. Our borders are wide open, and there's not going to be anything done to stop this. And that's why something like Sheriff Coe standing up and saying and taking this big unprecedented step is really a big thing, because that's what we need to go back to, is what can the state of Texas do? State sovereignty, declaring invasion, and protecting its citizens and its territory. That's where we need to be at.
Yeah. And, I think what you described right now with what happened to the mother and daughter is Americans are getting terrorized in their own homes by illegals, and, some people will say, well, they were just trying to look for food and water. No, they're not. Not all of them are. They're not trying to look for food and water. They're could definitely be there to cause harm. And so you don't want to take the chance. I mean, if you're a daughter and
not
a mother,
just that, but the other thing to consider here is that the fact that they were at this mother's doorstep when the border is wide open, every single person, our border patrol is completely overwhelmed, right? With people turning themselves in. These people there in Brackettville, they were not turning themselves in. Right. So that's the other thing. Like, for those who just say, oh, yeah, they're looking, like you said, they're just looking for food and water. Really? Because they could have done it as soon as they crossed over the river and found a border patrol agent. Those who are trying to get caught, nowhere to go, and they turn themselves in. This group, and a large portion of the what's coming over is not doing that. And that's what, and then they're not staying there along the border. They're coming back to the Metroplex areas where we live and throughout the rest of the United States. So no.
Right. Exactly. So our new statement now is every border town is every city and town in the nation is a border town now, because they are being moved across the nation on your tax dollars. They're being flown everywhere. They're being bused places. So they're not necessarily staying in the border towns. Now, there is obviously Del Rio has turned into almost like a third world country. I've seen some of the pictures. There's homeless people all over the place now. Literally, you can't even drive up to a convenience store because they're everywhere, because they have nowhere else to go. So they've crossed, but then there's no jobs for them there. There's no housing for them there. Now, Sheena, there was a while back that I remember you reporting that there was some housing that was going to be they were going to start building in Del Rio, but it was going to be designated only for illegals. Is that still an ongoing project? Do you know about that?
Well, I know that they have the influx facilities, that they're the massive ones that I actually even wrote a commentary on it. But I think what you're probably referring on is the colonials, the massive colonials over there in Liberty County, which is also in other areas of Texas. And it's like a third world country. And this has been going on for years over there in this area. But now, as you can imagine, with the massive, influx that is never ending, it's growing at a rapid pace, and the conditions there are horrific. There's a podcast that we did, with that. Todd also talked about it, on Bannon as well. It's horrific, and this is hundreds of miles away from the border. And when you talk about every town as a border town, there was just, and of course the mainstream media isn't going to talk about this. In Round Rock, just a few days ago, there was a woman, an illegal alien, who attempted to break into a resident's home in Round Rock, which again is actually north of Austin. So hundreds of miles away from the border, for those who think like, oh, but it's still Texas. No, hundreds of miles away, north. And when they arrested her, she went in to explain that she was breaking in because she had to do what? She had to pay off her debt for coming here illegally. And this is also what we talk about, that like they're not, and this is the humanitarian aspect. We keep on saying there is absolutely nothing humanitarian about this open borders. And this is what we're talking about. And when we say every town is a border town, again, while it is the southern border of Texas and of, other areas, but of course, Texas, we have the largest border area. They're coming to our areas. You just talked about the homelessness out there in the news right here in the DFW area. This is the second largest population of where the Afghan refugees were sent to. And I want to highlight this because this is part of this as well, just a different element of it. There was reports now where, they promised them, they brought them over here. They're unvetted. Project Veritas did the whole thing with over 50 known terrorists on the known terrorist watch list that were embedded, that they know of, was with these Afghan refugees because of the debacle that Biden caused with that withdrawal. But DFW being the number 2 area, well, they send them over here. They literally release them in their streets. They promise them jobs. And you know what? The vast majority are not able to do that. So what's happening? My husband and I witnessed not too long ago what looked to be like an Afghan family, a husband and a wife and a young girl, literally walking around panhandling in the city of Dallas. Why? Because they cannot get jobs. And it's the same thing with the illegal aliens that are coming over. Everybody paints this picture like, oh, the poor migrants and the NGOs are doing such a great job and that they're going to set them up with jobs and they're helping them. No, they're not. And these people are just being released into the communities, walking homeless, and they're not helping them. So everyone is suffering, from Texans to Americans. It's being ravaged. And then these people that are coming over and incentivized to come here, they're not coming here for the American dream that they were sold. And then they're having to be forced into perpetual bondage situations like what happened in Round Rock. So
that's a very good synopsis of what's going on. I know that you recently also stated something about that you had maybe gotten some intel that there was even some kind of camp somewhere near where you're living, somewhere in the Dallas area. And you said, well, it's not just in the border town. There is now some type of refugee camp right around the corner, and you call it right around the corner, but right around the corner from
in the area
where you live. Mm-hmm. And so this is everywhere. My husband and I were driving down, our main street, and we saw something very unusual, and we were trying not to judge, but I mean, how can you not? But they were very out of place. It was like a whole family. It's like a whole family, and they're just like somewhere walking and somewhere on a bike in a very heavily traveled main street where you don't really see people walk a lot because it's just it's like heavy traffic, right? And there's no sidewalks, so it's a very heavy trafficked area. And so they were just very out of place, extremely out of place. And we said, we wouldn't doubt that they probably dropped off a busload somewhere over here, and they're at some probably hotel or they're somewhere, right? They're obviously.
That almost sounds like,
yeah.
So that sounds like to what happens in Mexico as these caravans are coming up, where they're on these massive highways with heavy traffic. So they're kind of used to and accustomed to that, and then they think that that's like a normal thing here. And you guys are probably not wrong.
Yeah, and that's really sad, and it's almost like it makes me think back to like the human trafficking, right? Or very early on when human trafficking was very, very much at the brink of being a obviously a big issue, right, in America. And I remember, you know, driving down and my husband and this was years back. I mean, Sheena, like years back. And we drive through and pass a nail salon that says it's a nail salon or a foot what is it?
Like reflexology.
Yeah, one of them, flexology or something, right? Like, and so we drive by and then, but see, it wasn't what I guess I didn't pay attention, right? Most Americans just drive through, we don't pay attention. But when there's like aluminum foil covering the windows, and there's like the neon bright lights at the top, and then there's you don't see, like the door is almost, you know, tinted dark, and so you don't really see and you don't really pay attention. But my husband would point him out and be like, that's out of place, that's out of place, something bad's going on there, something da da da. And I'd be like, you just are so judgmental, you know, like I thought, well, maybe they didn't want sun to come in. I mean, again, we don't pay attention to that, right? But now that it's become a big issue, it's now at the forefront, you know, and now we know what we know based on the stats that are coming out from human trafficking, the news stories that come out from, you know, with people being saved or rescued or whatsoever, and they're finding them at these locations, right? The restaurants or hole in the wall, you know, foot places and nail salons or whatever that look like they're just not in the ordinary. That is where they are pretty much keeping their brothels. And so, and they purposely, you know, have them, they're almost now that I know what I know, I'm like, oh, you know, I can spot them. But back then I was like, I'm sure that somebody's just trying to start a business and you're like, come on the small business guy or man or woman, right? But this is almost what's going to happen with the whole illegal invasion right now with all these people. You're going to now just randomly see people, maybe families, walking down the street somewhere, and you're wondering, okay, that looks out of place. Like that's not normal for our side of town. You don't just see a family walking down the you know, heavily traveled area. And so, but you're going to start seeing this is going to become a trend. And maybe, you know, right now it's not a big deal, right? Because people, it's not so much in the open, but as these people start settling in to where they're being placed, you're going to start seeing it. There's going to be an uptick in crime, the robberies, break-ins, you know, carjackings. And one of the biggest thing that, of course, people are not really talking about, Sheena, is the amount of fentanyl that's in the streets.
The fentanyl, the methamphetamines, you know, those are some of the two biggest things. And that's going to impact absolutely everyone, whether they, you know, realize it or not. Just like the opioids crisis, you know, really took a toll. Because with that also, and it all kind of goes hand in hand, you know, where there's drugs, there's gangs, and where there's gangs and drugs, there's human and sex trafficking. So it all kind of and goes together. And I think that that's the issue. And, you know, that's one of the biggest things that we've been trying to focus on, you know, with Secure the Border. And now the new 501c4, the Alliance for a Safe Texas, that's going to be our biggest thing, is trying to highlight specifically in the Metroplex areas to bring it to the forefront, because it is so much easier to hide in plain sight. You know, when they've got a group of even 100 in Del Rio, people driving by, like, they're going to notice, right? But you got a group, you know, of 100 being dropped off by a bus in Fort Worth. People might go, that's a little strange, just because of kind of what it looks like, but they're just going to continue driving on, and they're not going to think twice. And it's a lot easier to hide all of these things in plain sight. And I think what's going to end up happening, kind of like what you just said, that, you know, and what I've even seen and what my husband has seen, what we've seen here in this area, people are going to wake up. And when they start waking up and start taking notice of these things, it's already too late, honestly, in many ways, without taking action to fight back against this. But by the time that people wake up, it's this country, the state is going to be absolutely radically changed and radically different. And it's going to take a lot of work if we're going to first off survive the rest of the Biden regime error. But then also if we're then going to, it's going to take a lot of work to then reverse a lot of the damage that was done.
Right. Well, you see my little shirt. I identify as an American.
I should have worn mine. You should have told me. We could have been
I didn't even think about it. I know. I was like, I identify as American. But you know what, Sheena? I was actually and just remembered right now as we're talking about this. So the America Project is powering up a Border 911 tour, which you and I are going to be part of, which is a great time to talk about this, because I think that a lot of the times, some of us that have been speaking out about what the invasion is, what I call it, at the border, we've been talking about this for a very long time. And the thing is that I think people go, well, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And one of the things is, yes, there's a lot of us that have shed light, but now what do we do about it? And one of the things that I very much admire about you and have been putting you out at the forefront, you spoke at one of our other events a couple weeks ago, Run for the Border here in Houston as well. And one of the things that I admire about you is that you don't just cover and talk about what's going on, and you've witnessed it, you've been down there, you've seen what's going on. You're actually taking what you have seen and putting it into action, which is something very, very different than most people do. Now, there's people out there that obviously have tried to make money off of this invasion and crisis. But we know that we don't do that. And so we actually are taking things into our own hands with action items. And those action items are you putting petitions together, whether it's signatures. You take those petitions over to the Capitol here in Austin, Texas. You've been testifying. I think you testified this week. You testified a couple weeks ago regarding the border. And so those type of things, I think, is what our next measure is. I know that at Latinos for America First, we've been talking about two new things that we're now going to evolve into. And we've talked about this. Two things we're going to focus on is workshops, which we're going to call America First University. There'll be the beginner and the advanced, right? And we're going to host these workshops probably in very low propensity areas where we're going to start educating people on to do exactly what you're doing, who to call, what to do, how to get to the Capitol. And if you go testify, how do you testify? Who do you contact? What are the procedures? It can be very overwhelming if you've never been. You got to check in. You got to do this. You got to do that. There's a lot of checks, check boxes you got to check off in order to do these things. It's not like you just show up, walk into a room, and then testify. So as you know that, we got to train people, mentor people. So that's kind of the two-prong thing that Latinos for America First is going to start concentrating on, is these workshops that we will call America First, University. And then we're going to focus on teaching them as well as how to go mobilize and organize and go with you, being at the helm of teaching them how to be a voice, so that Sheena doesn't have to go to testify and it's just Sheena alone. But if Sheena takes 100 people with her, then it's all of a sudden, it's now, oh my goodness. And our goal is to get people from the north, from the west, from the east, and from the south and central Texas, all coming in from all over Texas, to be that voice and to be that face and to say, I've got my 3 minutes, and Sheena's going to teach them how in 3 minutes you can put in your bullet points and say what you got to say and testify and come down as, I am representing this region, this precinct, this county, whatever it may be, right? We got to train them to be specific. We got to be strategic about it. We've got to let these elected officials know that they work for us. And the only way that we do that is these action items. And I don't know too many people. I mean, there is groups out there, don't get me wrong, but I don't know too many people that are doing what you're doing, Sheena. And I don't know, too many people that are, again, doing what Latinos for America First does. So we're all about education. We always have been, even when we were at Latinos for Trump, it was always about education, and so those are the things that we are going to start working on. And if you believe in that cause, visit Secure the Border. And is it .com, Sheena? Is it
securetheborder.us, and the 501c4 is Alliance for a Safe Texas, and we'll be adding information on that. But yeah, unfortunately, right now, a lot of it with regards to the border hasn't really been that what can the people do? How can they fight back on the city, county, and state level? And that's to address all the various issues. It's not just the invasion that's happening at the immediate border. It's also the negative consequences afterwards that we kind of all just talked about. But then with regards to like Latinos for America First, you know, the main goal there too is everything, because there is a lot of the issues. And I think with and it is so important, you know, Steve Bannon always says action, action, action. And it's so true. And right now, and it has to be goal. A lot of people's focus is on the action items on like the federal level, but there's this big push now, as it should be, as it always should have been. You know, everything that we're talking about with regards to the border and what Secure the Border, you know, is doing, you know, with the city and county and state level, you know, we need to be doing that with everything, with the elections, right? Literally, there's action items that people can do on the state level and on the city level, on the county level, you know, and things that, so even people, you know, that are like, well, I can't always go to the Capitol, you know, I get it. There's a lot that you could do right there in your own respective city or county, and not just with the border, with anything. Roe versus Wade, praise God, with the reversal of it, it threw it back where? To the states, where it always should have been. So now we've got to continue to fight, you know, and make sure, because right now we're seeing this whole thing, you know, where now these cities are coming out and saying, well, we're just going to create sanctuary cities for, you know, for abortions. Yeah, okay, well, we need to be ready and prepared to fight back on that on every single level. So you can take this, like, yes, the Secure the Border focuses obviously like on that, but with Latinos for America First, it's going to be about all of these issues. Pick your topic, because we are getting slaughtered on every single, you know, topic, and every single one of them is absolutely crucial and vital to our sovereignty as a state and as a country. And for our liberties. But yeah, I mean, it's, and that's what we're going to be focusing on as well, you know, with those workshops and getting the information out there, but then throwing it back to we the people. This is what you can do. This is how you can fight back. Don't be hopeless. Don't feel that way. You got to get up and stand up and fight for your families.
So exactly. And so my thing was, again, you know, you believe in this cause, if you believe in Sheena and you believe in what we're doing, you know, at Latinos for America First, as well as in Secure the Border, is you go donate, you know, at securetheborder.us, as well as latinosforamericafirst.com. If you want to specifically donate to those, you know, action items or issues, if that's your passion, if you feel that we, you know, you want to help out with that. So, you know, sometimes, and then just go sign up. But Sheena always has action items on her website and tells people, I need this right now. I need you to sign this. I need you to do this. I need this many signatures. So there's always those call to action as well items. And so let me go back here to the Border 911 tour that we're fixing to do. And I'm going to see, oh my goodness, where is my...
Well, if I can plug it in really quick, we're actually going to be posting, plug this in really quick. This is actually going to be, a while back, we started this action item, putting the pressure on our elected officials, you know, to declare this as an act of invasion. And we're going to be pushing that out really strong. We should actually hopefully have that up there again on securetheborder.us. We'll have all the information. We'll have the templates and everything up there. And of course, we'll also probably push that out with Latinos for America First as well. We're going to be calling, emailing, you know, writing, again, Governor Abbott, you know, Attorney General Paxton, your states, you know, representative and and senators. Call them and tell them, you know, they want to be able to hear from you. They need to be able to hear from you. Tell them, we, you know, our state is depending on this. Our country is depending on this. Declare this as an act of invasion. So we will also have that up-to-date action item that we'll be able to share out soon, within the next few hours. So,
right, exactly. So that's what's really, really important. Is that we definitely, it's the action items. And so the Border 911 is going to be, it's very exciting for me, you know, being the chief strategist over at the America Project now, is we're putting together this, we kind of did like a mini one, right? Over convention here or during state convention here. We did a mini little run for the border, and we filled up the room. We had 130 max capacity. We had 158 people show up. And so it was obviously oversold out. One of the things that really surprised me and impressed me is that it was a very long event. As you remember, we started at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock was a VIP, 6 to 7, and there was a little bit of some talking that was done between that time. Then we all went upstairs to the ballroom. If you remember, Sheena, we got started pretty much on time, and we literally went from 7 to 10, about 10 maybe. We might have finished just a couple minutes after the time that we thought. But if you recall, we still had, even though there was 158 people there at the beginning, we still had about 80 people in the room all the way up until 10:10, literally listening and learning about everything we had to talk about the border. We had Jason Jones, we had Victor Avila, yourself, myself, we had Frank Lopez, and then of course we had performers, Bryson Bray and Isaiah Robin. And so that kind of just, livened up things, right. And eased things up. But remember, I don't know if you remember, but if you do remember, I said, I felt like people have been sitting for so long, and I said, does anybody need a restroom break?
Yeah, I remember that.
Want to keep going, and we can do a 5-minute restroom break, go stretch your legs, do something. Sheena, do you remember that everybody was like, no?
They audibly said no.
They audibly said yes. Yeah, they were like, no, keep going. And I was like, okay. So we kept going, and people were so educated, intrigued. I think we had so many of those people reach out back again and said, we want to be trained. What do we do? How do we get involved? Where do we help? We want to volunteer. They've signed up to be volunteers. And so that was a mini event. Well, think about the Border 911. It's going to be even, I don't even know, 10 times bigger than that, because of the speakers that we have coming out here to the South Houston area. It's going to be August 27th. I'm still waiting for this. I'm trying to get this to load, and it's like taking forever. So I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to show the actual, the flyer we got. And so anyway, but it's gonna. The lineup is fantastic. We got Tom Homan. We got General Flynn. We got Ladder Logan, who's going to MC the event. We've got Roger Stone coming. Roger Stone coming to Texas, South Texas, or South Houston, I should say. Right. That's just like crazy, right? And everybody's like, what's Roger Stone have to do with the border? Well, actually, Roger Stone's going to host a panel. He's going to host a panel with, I'm not privy or haven't been privy to exactly what panel he's going to host, but he's going to have a good panel. I'm going to do a panel. I know you're going to do a call to action. Victor Avila is going to speak. Joe Flynn's going to speak. We've got a lot of speakers coming. Jason Jones is going to come back out. We've got some of the Angel Moms coming back out. We're also possibly have some sheriffs that are going to come out. There's the lineup is getting very, very, it's not overwhelming, but the lineup is going to be so fantastic that we are anticipating to sell out. We are. Tickets are $50, I believe. And if you purchase them, you can go to border911.com right now. And if you purchase the tickets, then basically what you get 20% off, I believe, is what it is. Now, veterans and LEOs, law enforcement, they're going to have a different, they'll have a different something that's offered to them as well. But it's all on the website on border911.com. Let me see now if I can actually now share this. Let me see here. Will it now let me do my... I can never figure out this share screen, Sheena. Never. We
could help save the country and save the great state of Texas, but
I can never do this. Tell me if you see this. Do you see this on my screen?
Yes, but it's very, very, very small. I see.
Is it?
Okay. We see like your files right now.
Oh, okay. No. Hold on. I have this.
It looks like something's trying to pull up, maybe.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, hold on. Maybe I can get this up right now. Oh, wait a minute. Did I stop sharing?
Yes.
I did. I stopped sharing. I'm like, I don't want the entire screen. I just want the window, but it won't pull up the window. So unfortunately, it only lets me choose this. Let me see if it'll let me do this. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, let's see. Well, let's see if it lets me do this now. Okay, now can you see it?
Yes. There we
Can
go.
Flyer?
Mm-hmm.
Yay! Okay, I figured I could get this done right. It only took me a bit. Okay, so oops. Wait.
Oh, now it disappeared. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. So you see Border 911 event, the most important event series dealing with the national security threat at our southern border. Every state is now a border state. It's time for Americans to wake up and get involved. It'll be Saturday, August 27th at the CT Church here in Houston on Allen Genoa Road from 8 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. You can register, purchase tickets at border911.com. That, like I said, there's going to be even more people coming out. And, please take this flyer. You're going to start seeing it. Actually, I'm going to start sharing it on all of my social media, guys. So if you don't, get some of this information, be ready. I will be sharing this, with you guys on our social media. And you can share it out. We do anticipate, I think there's only 1,000 seats. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to sell out. I am hands down with Tom Homan and General Flynn and Roger Stone and, just and so many other patriots that are going to really, be there. It's very, very exciting. Just to really be talking about it. I'll have Laura Logan, MC the event. Is going to be phenomenal as well. And Sheena, I know people are going to be really, really excited. I think, I always look forward because, they'll cover issues and problems and talk about all that stuff. But the main thing is we want to make sure that those people that are at our event walk away with an actionable item, that they know exactly what they have to do, how they can help, how they can get involved, have, sign up sheets for them, or even carry a tablet. I think carrying a tablet and having them sign up on your website right there on a tablet, so that, sometimes on a write-in sheet, you can't read their writing sometimes and you don't know the email. But here, if you walk around with a tablet, we can get their information, and that way put them on our email list and make sure that we're communicating with them and do the call to action. Because, we're going to have to get together on this. I've been kind of hearing through the grapevine that people at the Texas Capitol are getting very, very antsy. They're very, very nervous. And there is a sense of fear, is what I heard. And I said, what does that mean? And I was told by an individual that walking around, and it wasn't you, obviously, but walking around through the halls of, the legislators there at the Texas Capitol, that there was a sense of fear because of the platform that came out of the Texas State Convention. Mm-hmm. And they feel that the grassroots has become so activated that they're going to actually have to pass laws and bills that they have been pushing aside for 10, 20, 30 years now, that we're going to really hold them accountable. So there's a sense of, we can't play games anymore with these people. We've been telling them that we're going to, we still have the crisis at the border. We still need the border wall, but there was never a border wall put up. School choice, but school choice really never gets done. But now, and then this whole CRT and transgender modification and all of these things, because of how activated they saw the grassroots at the Texas State Convention, they know there is a fear. And that is, like, I don't know whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it's kind of a good thing. I think, honestly, what really put the fear of man in them was to see that Senator Cornyn showed up and wasn't even allowed to speak at our convention, and the boos were going on from the beginning that he stepped on stage till when he left the stage. They, I think, saw that 5,000, they said 5,000 delegates there from across the state of Texas booing. They
At a GOP convention at
yeah,
that.
it wasn't a small boo, like boo. It was the whole. I was like towards the back. Previous conventions, we've been at the front. This time, they put us in the back. My district was in the back, so I literally could hear from the back of the room the boo all the way to the front.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, oh my God, people aren't playing anymore. Like this was massive. You and I sat waiting to testify for hours and 8 hours, 10 hours in a room waiting to testify for 2 or 3 minutes. Waiting that long to testify. And, you know, we were not the only ones. There were a good amount of people. There should have been more, but there were a good amount of people showing up to testify in front of those committees, making sure that the committee knew where we stood with our policies and what we wanted to see come out of that convention from the grassroots and from the delegates. So I think honestly, maybe some people don't feel that we had a successful convention. I think we had a very successful convention. I can see that there are some moderates in the state that are not very happy with the legislative priorities, but I know I'm happy. I mean, Sheena, I'm sure you're happy. I think there's a couple of things that we would have liked to see, but I think altogether we did see a good success come out of that. And for the Texas Republican Party of Texas to unanimously vote and declare that Biden's regime is illegitimate was pretty massive.
Yeah, I think what you know, I'm always reminded, like, I think that the convention was pretty strong of where the tone is, that we are all upset, you know, that people are getting educated and involved, and that's what we're helping to try to fill the gap of. And I am really excited about the Breaking 911 to be able to, even for just a little, like this big of a time, be able to share the stage with such big names. That's just a huge honor, and being able to project exactly that, the action items that can take place here in the great state of Texas. I'm really excited about that. But I think what you saw with the convention is this shift. You know, I never really was into politics. I was always into the advocacy part of the pro-life movement, right? Mm-hmm. But I think, and I say that because all the politicians, we always knew that they were, you know, corruption. We always knew that they really didn't care about the people. We always knew that. But as long as it was kind of kept at bay, and that's our fault. It's our fault, right? Because we've allowed it to get to this point. But I say that because now I think what you're starting to see, and I think the reason why so many are nervous on all sides, and on all levels, is the fact that they went far too far. Mm-hmm. Now they've messed with our homes, they've messed with our pocketbooks, they've messed with our children, and now we're rising up. We're getting educated. We're taking the power back. And then those of us like ourselves are saying, now this is how you can do it. And we are raising that army. Bianca, you have been so key in activating and helping to activate even myself. And, you know, I don't have any fancy titles. We don't have any fancy titles. We don't have like none of that. We're just every day. We're just moms, homeschool, both of us, homeschooling moms. Just literally saying, you know what? No more. And now we're going to fight back. And that's exactly what they're doing. I think that message was ever so loud and clear at the GOP convention. And to know that conservatives, you know, we've always kind of, everybody claims to be conservative, and we know that couldn't be farther from the truth. And now we're making it known, like with what happened to Cornyn, you know, not only do you no longer represent you represent us, you never really have, but now we're going to take action, and we're going to weed you out. And that's the message. Yeah.
And that is, you know, censorship is coming for Cornyn. I know there's a movement to censor him so that he can never run on a Republican ballot again. Hopefully, you know, he's up in 2026 or something. I think he had secured that seat, but I mean, he's old. Like, he should have retired a long time ago. These politicians who've been in office for 20, 30 years, I'm sorry, they all need to retire. They need to be career politicians. Yeah. And, you know, to think that we still have the same problems that we had when they were in office. So I'm like, what have you really done? So you've only created more problems, and here we are, right? So, and you're right. The key is education. That's why I've always said, educate, educate, educate. And then, once you get your passion, figure it out, and then educate the rest of us, because my passion was not to go to legislation. I'm not one to go and testify, but that's become one of your passions and you're very good at it. So it's like, well, now that you become very good at it and you know the whole system, now you need to train others to do what exactly you're doing. Other moms, other dads or whatever that want to be empowered and don't know where to go. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. They don't know, who they would even contact, And so, giving them a little cheat sheet, like Cliff Notes, right? It's like the political Cliff Notes. We need to come up with that, like little Cliff Notes, and hand those Cliff Notes out. I found myself even, this was I talked about this on my radio show on 1440 Keys when I'm on it every Monday morning. I talked about this. I said, at state convention, Sheena, I saw so many people. Well, actually, I didn't know them. They knew me. They recognized me. Even in the bathroom line, they were like, "Oh my God, we know you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And there was like, "We've seen you on War Room. You're on Bannon." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So then immediately, how many of them were literally have been watching Bannon and became precinct chairs and became delegates to get involved. They were all over the place. But let me tell you something. They had no training, Sheena. They didn't know there was committees and they could come testify. They didn't know what rooms. They didn't know where they were supposed to go, what they were supposed to do. They didn't know what was the point of me meeting in this room for. And I'm like, because this is a process. So this is what you have to do. I was training people while I was meeting new people and going, this is where you go right here. This is a sheet. It tells you where to go. This room is important. This is where you vote for the next, vice chair, for this person, for this, that, da, 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 da. This is where you vote. And this is where those, votes matter, right? In the shaping of our Republican Party. And so they were like, oh, we didn't know that. And they were like, oh, this is good to know. There were so many people I found myself training along the way and then going, oh my God. And then sometimes I'd even run into them afterwards and they'd be telling me, thank you so much for telling me where I had to go and report you. I would have not even known. They were just wandering around thinking they were just visiting or something. So it was pretty interesting, and it was great to see that people got involved. That was, I think, the main thing, right, is to make sure that people got involved. So I think it's very awesome, and it's way past our time. I know it's Friday night. It's 4th of July weekend, guys. I will be out in Fredericksburg, Texas. I'm speaking at their 4th of July shindig. So I'm going out to the hill country. I'm so super excited about that. And Sheena, I know you've got things going, but guys, please tune in next Friday night for Stand Up, Stand Out America. Also tune in to Sheena's podcast as well, Secure the Border. You can find us pretty much on our platforms as well as on patriottvlive.com. You can always find us there where we are not censored. So, Getter, obviously, I love my Getter family. Listen, Getter is better. I actually do like Getter more than Truth Social, guys. I'm just saying. We got visions on Getter now. We've got analytics you can keep up with on Getter. Everything is on Getter, and I really love it. The audience is great. The Patriots are great. We just love the Getter family. So, anyway, guys, Sheena, any last words before we close out?
If they could just visit, of course, securetheborder.us, they can find that. And then obviously the Alliance for a Safe Texas. I'm also on Getter. I'm actually really hoping to grow the Getter account a lot. I also go live on there. And we're always constantly sharing the stuff we're, on there as well. But Getter, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. As well, Sheena Rodriguez and Secure the Border, and then of course, like I said, the website securetheborder.us. And I'm excited to be out there in Houston in August. It'll be exciting. So I hope people come out for that. Thank you so much, Bianca, for everything that you do and for inviting me on tonight. Thank you so much. Always. Shout out to our Latinas for America First family, Bianca, Maria, all the Marias, like just everyone is just amazing. So shout out to them.
Yes. And also Andrea, she's still live, and she said gilbertforgovernor.com. Ooh, I misspelled it, guys. Sorry, Andrea. It's gilbertforgovernor.com. Also, she's added the givesendgo.com to the Franklin Project. Guys, go follow them. They're fighting for their state, literally fighting. They've done a recount. They've got explosive information coming out. in the upcoming weeks. So we love you guys. Keep up the fight. And listen, we'll continue to do our thing here in the state of Texas. Good night on this Friday, and we wish you a safe and happy 4th of July, guys. Freedom and liberty is still alive. It is still alive. Thank you so much for tuning in again at Stand Up, Stand Out America with Bianca Gracia, La Conservadora Tejana, and tonight my guest, Sheena Rodriguez from Secure the Border. Anyway, guys, I always say peace out.